And then I start playing this game with myself, like I am going to outlast. I am going to outlast anyone who started with me. I may not be the fastest, but I will continue to move forward. All right, welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, AZ Araujo, and I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm sending the final email here, something that I do every Monday to remind everyone here at AZ & Associates to join us and to take 20 to 25, 30 minutes with me in order to recalibrate, right? Recalibrate and recommit to the responsibilities we have as business owners, the responsibilities we have as parents, as spouses, as just individuals that are trying to grow something greater for themselves. And it gets overwhelming sometimes, right? And I think that's the big issue with Monday sometimes is that we start thinking about the monotony of what needs to happen in order to continue this momentum. It's a game that most people just are unwilling to play, right? To take care of ourselves, to make sure we're vested in our families, to be very intentional about our business every single day. It's a tough game. I mean, it was tough just trying to grow a business, but now, this whole concept of you also have to take care of yourself. You also have to be vested with your family. You also have to just be on your game at all times. It can become overwhelming, and it's a big conditioning process. And for those of you that had big standards and big goals for 2020, I want to remind you that you can start again. You can begin again. That's a quote that I've always just loved. It is so simple and to the point. Begin again. Regardless of what we did, what we failed to accomplish, or even those goals that we did accomplish. The key to this is to begin again and to realize the monotony is part of the game. The monotony, right? The things that we have to do on a consistent basis, the things that we've already mastered, and yet we still have to do it over and over again. I was reminded about the monotony and how important it is to stay mentally strong because the monotony is what builds you, is what's going to give you the advantage over the competition, knowing that it's only a matter of time before they quit. The monotony and being in that place, embracing that, and realizing that is the key to getting to that next level is so important. This past Saturday was our first 2.5-hour bike ride that I've had probably in 2 months. 2.5 hours. And we're doing this thing now on Zwift, which is like a virtual, it's a virtual game per se. It's like you hook up your bike on a trainer and you're there and you're seeing other people go through these courses. And it's very realistic. Like the trainer that I bought, you're able to feel the bumps on the road. You're able to know when you're going up an incline or decline. So it's very, very involved, right? And it's very realistic. 2.5 hours, right? 2.5 hours was the game plan. So I'm there on Saturday morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. And again, the monotony of having to do this, right? So I jump on my bike and I'm feeling pretty good to begin with. I'm going 15 minutes in and I'm thinking to myself, damn it. I still have 2 hours and 15 minutes left of this, and it's hard for me to hear. So these are working, right? No. Oh, yes, they are. We can turn that up a little bit, please. So, I'm on this bike, and 15 minutes in, I'm like, I still have 2 hours and 15 minutes left to this thing. And then I'm 30 minutes in, and I'm like, I'm still 2 hours, right, into this. And I'm starting to get demotivated because it's so long. And then I'm an hour into it. I'm like, I still have an hour and a half, an hour and 15. I still have, 45 minutes. It just seemed like things were not going any faster. And I'm there struggling at some point, right? My legs are starting to burn up. I'm bored in a way, right? Just continue to spin this bike. And I realized that, I'm not the only one going through this. Understand that when you start thinking about your marketing and thinking about all the videos that you have to create or the things that you have to do on a daily basis, you're not the only one that's having to go through this. And I think that's why our coaching programs are so successful, because it shines light on the dark. It shines light on the monotony and realizing that, hey, you're not the only one going through this. So as I'm on this bike, I'm thinking to myself, like, the only way I'm able to just keep going is realizing I'm being very selfish, thinking that I'm the only one feeling the monotony of this, the pain, right? The boredom of it all. I'm feeling like I'm the only one that's stuck in this place. When in fact, there's thousands of people on this virtual game. But not only that, the guys that decided to do this with me are also on there. So if I'm going through this, I know they are too. And that takes the pain and the focus off of me and realize, hey, if those guys can do it, then I can do it too. And then I start playing this game with myself like I am going to outlast. I am going to outlast anyone who started with me. I may not be the fastest, but I will continue to move forward. And that's the way we have to think about our business in general. When you start thinking about your marketing, yes, it's monotonous. Yes, it's boring. Sometimes you don't have anything to say or something different to say. But you have to think about that's the same struggles that your competition is going through. But they're not going to quit. Does that mean that you will quit? And we have to embrace this whole place of it's not always going to be exciting. And I think Mondays is why so many people are so demotivated. Right? Why there's such a struggle to get up in the morning and say, I'm going to kill the day, because we start thinking about the monotony of the entire week, about what we have to do, how many people we have to follow up with, how many phone calls we have to make, how many marketing videos and posts we have to put out there. It becomes overwhelming because we're starting to think 5 steps ahead. We're already starting to think about what Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are going to look like. It's only Monday. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. And now we're demotivated about the monotonous process. Understand that if you're able to embrace that, you will always have an advantage. No one will ever move at your speed. And if they're ahead, it's only a matter of time before they slow down. And you got to understand that this is something you have within yourself. It's a skill set. But now you have to put the mindset aspect behind it. You will not quit. You will go ahead and maneuver and navigate through the boredom, through the monotony of it all, and build the skill sets required to dominate your space. It's an easy but yet painful process. Like Saturday morning was rough. 2.5 hours. Guys, just think about this. Doing anything for 2.5 hours straight. But in this case, it's like just being in front of a screen and having your legs just spin over and over and over and over again. I ended up completing about 45 miles. I haven't done 45 miles in about, again, since October, since I did my competition. So it was tough going back to the things I already dominated. I felt like I was already there. Why do I have to do it again? My body should know that I can maintain this level of performance. I already did it. And we fall into that as business owners. I already did it. Why do I have to continue to do this? I've already done 100 videos. I've already done all these posts. Why do I have to continue? My business should just flourish. And that is the first step to retracting. That is the first step to losing your market share to the competition. It's thinking that you've arrived at some point, that you no longer have to go through the monotonous process, when in fact it is something that we all have to go through moving forward, forever. Putting ourselves in this place where it is going to be boring. Putting ourselves in a place where we've already done it 1,000 times. Why do I have to do it 1,001 times? And it's understanding that this is just part of the game and not getting overwhelmed by it. So today for Monday, we just have to think about what we have to do here before 10:30. And then when 10:30 comes around, we just have to start thinking about what we have to do before 2, before 5, and before 10. These are simple little processes and simple little things that we just have to look forward to, small little targets throughout the day. But if we sit there and start thinking about the entire laundry list of items that we have to accomplish, we're more likely to be paralyzed. We're more likely to go in it with a bad attitude, feeling entitled. I've already done this 1,000 times. Listen, the monotony is your advantage. You got to understand that that's where you get what you want. The monotony is what will repair your marriage. The monotony is what will allow you to lose your weight and feel good within, inside and out. The monotony will grow your business and set a standard that will pay its dividends for years to come. It's all in the monotonous process. Not because you feel excited, not because it's a great day to do things today. It's because of the things that suck, right? The things that suck. And again, these coaching programs that we've had here at Ease and Associates, I think they've been so successful is because, we just shine the light on the dark. that you're not the only one going through this. So if you feel demotivated today, if you feel overwhelmed, like stop. Like everybody else is feeling that way as well. If you're riddled with anxiety, stressed out, guess what? Your competition is feeling that as well. The difference is, how are you going to approach it versus how they are going to approach it? And it's all in self-control. And I ran into this quote that I want to discuss today. And it says, just because you're doing the right things now doesn't mean the burdens of your past will disappear. Everything you ignored and disregarded will need to be addressed. Give your marriage a chance to heal, your body time to recuperate, and your business the focus to grow. And this is something that I wrote down about 3 years ago. And, it just reminded me about how, if our business is not where we need it to be, if our marriages have been, our relationships at home have been declining for years, is because there's been a neglect there. There's been neglect. There's been even abuse of realizing, that you're not doing the right things. When you neglect something, that's a form of abuse. And oftentimes it's something that we don't realize we're doing. Not being involved is a sort of abuse. It's neglect, right? So as years go by, you realize, hey, my marriage is not where it needs to be. And then you look in the mirror and you look at yourself and it's like, my body's not what it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling energetic. I'm not feeling the drive that I used to. And what we fail to see is that there was a constant there, a constant of not paying attention to the things that mattered. And we have to really look at it and say, this is where the big turnaround happens. At the beginning of 2020, we had this quote. It said, it's a new standard, a new year, a new standard for a new decade. 2020, right? And then a lot of us neglected. What happened next? A lot of us decided to go back to our old habits. In fact, we're not even doing better. You may not even be doing better in your finances. You may not even be doing better as far as taking care of your health, or your marriage still continues to decline. And we think it's outside of our control when in fact it was the neglect and the form of abuse of not paying attention. Neglect is a big thing. If your business is not where it needs to be, there's a ton of neglect that we fail to pinpoint and analyze. Are we really doing the things, the monotonous things that got us success to begin with? It's a process that we have to condition ourselves for. It's not like we just can sit there and say, okay, I've already done it 1,000 times, I'm good. And this is where we need to pay particular attention, especially during this time. Especially during this time. This time is about making sure that we set a new standard for 2021. Going into it with the mindset that things will change. That what you see in the mirror doesn't always have to be that way. That your marriage is just the connection is no longer there. It doesn't have to be that way. It's a simple process of just making sure that you're intentional about the entire approach. Like one of the things that I do in the mornings, that I make sure that I spend some time and just give Carla a hug every morning, and she hugs me every morning, and it feels so good, right? Because it's so easy to go years without even having any physical contact. We've been there. It's so easy not to even have any eye contact because we're just going through the monotony of things we think as they should be. When in fact, if you go through the monotony but are intentional about it, and I'm not saying hugging your spouse is a monotonous process. What I'm saying is that it has to be an intentional process, just like it is with your business. It's surprising, like when you don't track your results, how many days you actually go without actually making your deposits. When was the last time you actually posted? When was the last time you reached out to your clients? These are the things we have to think about on a consistent basis that, hey, it's not always fun. And sometimes it's like you don't even want to be around a certain person, right? But understanding that you must make your deposits and go through the process. Otherwise, you'll end up in a place that I was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I was at 35 years old. Actually, it was 7 now. I can't believe time has flown that much, right? At 35, when Carla asked for a divorce. And it wasn't because it happened overnight. It was years of neglect. It was years of putting my marriage on the back burner. And that was just a reflection in every aspect of my life. I couldn't be depended on because I was unwilling to go through the monotonous process. So I'm asking you on Mondays to be here, to realize that, hey, it's just a simple trigger that we need to go through to understand that this is part of the game. But the results is what we have to focus on. The results, just imagine and just think about what you've already created. And it's because there's some focus, some form of focus. What happens if you're 100% focused? Imagine what you can create then. Some of you are making more money than you ever thought was possible because you're focused. You're able to go through the monotonous process, but you also have holes in your game. Imagine if you start focusing on those things. Where would you be? Understand that the momentum you built for 2020 is just a stepping stone to where you'll inevitably be. Imagine if you take the right steps, like where you'll be in a year from now, 5 years from now. I didn't realize I can be here where I actually wake up and I'm so grateful for the way my life is turning out, but it wasn't done by accident. I didn't wake up and it just became this. I made my necessary deposits. I was able to go through the monotonous process of realizing that regardless of how many times I've done it, regardless of how many times I've said I loved you, how many times I've hugged my own spouse, reminding my kids about how special they are to me, we cannot stop that process. We have to say it over and over and over again because it's forgotten. And the question is, where have you forgotten certain things? If you're not feeling good and energetic about yourself, about your body, what have you forgotten? If your business has become a chore as opposed to something that you look forward to, what have you forgotten? And we have to think about these things because it's just like you just can't stop. We can't get up tomorrow and think that it's all going to be the way we've always envisioned. Those results are always on the back of the hard work, the monotonous work, the painful work. And I wrote another thing here, and it says, up all night, life in shambles, divorce looming. Up all night, life in shambles, divorce looming. The turnaround will be an epic tale. I know what that feels like. So wherever you think you're at, even the most successful go through these episodes of not feeling like they've created anything significant. But you're not the only one going through it. But it's realizing that this is just part of the game. And this turnaround, the turnaround that you have for your life, for your marriage, for the relationship you have with your kids, how you feel about your body, your health, begins here, begins today. And every day thereafter. But, like anything else, we'll worry about tomorrow. All we can do is focus on today. So you as a business owner, you have a responsibility. Shine that light on yourself, on your personality. Shine that light on your experience, the love for the game. And when you shine that light, you'll attract. But don't shut down your business for the sake of not feeling it or feeling like you've already done it 1,000 times. You already spoke about it 1,000 times. Because guess what? There's somebody out there that's never heard it before. And that's what you have to be reminded of. So it's a monotonous game, but I'm willing to play. I'm willing to play big time. And understand that it's just a form of respect. When you're able to show up through the monotony, it's a form of respect for yourself. That you're able to do what most are unwilling to do. And realizing that, hey, it's just a very selfish feeling, right? Because somebody else is going through it as well. So get your motivation from that. Will you outlast them? That's the key. So I want to thank you for joining me for today's Mindset Mastery. The big turnaround is ours. It's yours. And I can't wait to see what we create in 2021. It's been an amazing year, and we're only a few weeks until we say goodbye to 2020. And moving forward, we know many things are not going to be like what we're accustomed to. But that's okay. This is where we pivot. This is where we adapt. And I am so grateful that, we're not being hit. Our industry was not hit by all the things that happened in 2020, because we could all be in a much worse situation. So we can't really complain about this, right? We have no right to complain. All we can do is take advantage of the opportunities that have been set before us. And if you don't do this now, it's going to be hard to jump on the wagon, right? On the train once it moves on full speed ahead. So we all know what to do. Guys, I want to thank you again for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery. I want to hear what you have to say. I have Jason Smith. I want to say good morning to everyone who joined me today. Good morning to Claudia, Caroline, Felipe, Teresa. Good morning to you. Gabe, Celia, Raquel. Good morning. Itzel, all the way from Tucson, joining us. Joanna. Good morning. Megan, Patrick. Good morning to you. And what are you guys hearing in this? It's a monotonous, boring process, right? We all know that. Carmela, good morning. Kim, Jason. All right. One of the best things you told me several times in coaching was just do it. Quit talking and quit overthinking. And it's such a simple process, right? Do the work. It's such a simple concept. And that is what will give you the advantage long term. That alone, do the work, right? Because people will get bored from it. People will get overwhelmed with it. But if you just have a small, simple task list of what you must do, what you must accomplish, it's amazing what you can create. And it's a step at a time, a day at a time. So again, thank you again for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery, and I will talk to you soon. Bye now.